Dominic, thank you so much for joining me on Social Impact Power Chats.
I'm happy to be here, Emily. It's great to spend some time with you.
Absolutely. So we have known each other over many iterations. I'd love to catch up in terms of where you sit now and how social impact plays into your role today.
Well, this is probably the most explicit intersection of my career and social impact to date. I lead Revolution Foods Public Benefit Corp, or PBC for short. We are a B Corp. We've been a B Corp since 2009. And the company's charter is to gain access or enable access to healthy meals for kids in school. And we target schools and communities that otherwise, if they don't get these meals at school, they're probably not eating. But if they do eat, it's probably not so good for them. So we're really focused on reaching kids in need, delivering them school meals, and really measuring our impact by just that, like that meal access, and whether we're reaching those folks that really need the meals.
So, obviously that goal of feeding kids in school is a purpose-centered mission, knowing that you're underpinned by some of these kind of regulatory frameworks, let's call them, B Corp, public benefit, et cetera. How does that help you all do your job better? Like having those sort of extra badges, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of like a golf course or something that you got to play, and there's easy holes and hard holes, and there's trouble lurking. But if you keep it in the fairway, you can have impact and score a low number. I don't know if that's a great analogy, but it's working for me right now. And so, I mean, like regulatorily, I think the USDA is very proud of the regulations that they've created for defining, healthy school meals and really getting kids the key nutritional elements that they need: the meats, the grains, the vegetables, the fruit, things like that. And I think rightly so, they should be proud of it. And it's interesting, sort of ex post COVID, two really important things sort of came into being. One of them was I think the government really realized and society realized that schools are an important depot for gaining food access for families in need. And so whether the school was in session or not, the schools really became these depots for distribution of meals and meal boxes and things like that. And I think that was an important element for visibility and just broadly in society for how many folks, whether you're a child in school or a family that's food insecure in this country. It's shocking, at this point in our evolution to still be really struggling with food, inequality, food access. And then the other thing that happened ex post COVID was inflation and supply chain challenges. And I think that helped the government see that, whoa, wait a second, we have been underwriting these programs and supporting kids in the National School Lunch Program and other sort of attendant programs since 1946, but we've been woefully slow at following food cost. And so that really helped things from a standpoint of just delivering quality. Because I sit here today and I think about school lunches, and I mean, you can say those two words to just about any young adult, old adult, and things pop into their head like, Salisbury steak swimming in a pool of brown gravy and,
I think
mashed
Adam Sandler
potatoes.
wrote a song about it.
Yeah, exactly. John Oliver, by the way, just did a great clip on school lunches that everybody should watch, which, pretty much encapsulates, some of our challenges. But I would say that, school lunches connote a certain thing in our minds. And I think some of these changes that I just went through help accelerate, maybe a new potential perception for school lunches. And that's part of the reason we're doing what we're doing at Revolution Foods is, hey, we're engaged with a number of other folks in this country trying to get good quality meals in front of children and getting them to eat, because it's not just good enough to get the meal there. They have to eat it. And that's what triggers the reimbursement program. That's what triggers the whole machine to move. And so it's a careful balance between, look, you're a parent, I'm a parent, my parents were teachers. I fully understand that, you can't put a plate of broccoli in front of a child and expect them to be, doing handsprings of excitement and eating that day in, day out. But, sort of you can see that that's one end of the spectrum in terms of like that's the most healthy thing they could probably eat, or at least be a strong component of their meal. And so you're constantly doing this balance of it's got to be healthy, but it's also got to be eaten. And so, that's another big component of this challenge. But the paradigm's fundamentally shifted ex post COVID, as I mentioned, and I think there is a really broad understanding in society today on the functionality of food and the positive things around food. And if you even think about today's hot topic of sort of mental health among children, young adults, food is an important influencer in mental health, right? And it's an important influencer in behavior. It's an important influencer in test results, attention span. It goes on and on. And so I really see a real opportunity going forward for Revolution Foods and others to work, as I like to say, within the system, right? It's one thing to throw rocks at the system, and that's just not constructive. We have an enormous system that's incredibly positive, that's made some broad stroke changes. More changes need to occur, but we've got the right momentum in place. And again, focusing on food access and food equality and meal participation, the kids actually eating. These are the things that are going to help, us have real lasting impact.
So, one of the things that I love about what you do is it's trackable, right? Like you really think about like KPIs and metrics, like it's not
100%.
Right. Like, so the goal is not to get the food to the school. The goal is to get the food in the belly, because that is the whole purpose of this, and the business is really oriented around that major goalpost and sort of.
Yeah, we've done a lot in the last year to, push our quantification further. We're really bringing together things like zip code information, which has always existed and has been the primary source for identifying school eligibility for free and reduced meals. But then on top of that now, we're doing things where we're working with the school to get updated enrollment information, updated attendance information. We're monitoring the meal types, breakfast, lunch, supper, snack. We're looking at those meals at a school site level, and we're understanding, are the students eating them or not? And then we're building this set of data where we can go back through and say like, oh, hey, tamales on Tuesday do really, really well with the kids. And when the other choice is lasagna, they really, double down on tamales. I mean, I'm giving you a kind of a kind of example, but there are other nuanced examples here. And the whole goal is not to waste food, drive higher participation, but the team is talking now in terms of, we can look at any school site that we serve any day and know the participation level by meal. And that's powerful information. And so we're trying to take some of the, art of making food and turning it into science and then improving the machine.
Amazing. So, folks who are listening, there are definitely people who are going to hear this who are also in businesses that are thinking about how to make an impact vis-a-vis the business. I love what you all do in terms of metrics and analysis. I'm wondering if you could speak sort of philosophically, like when you stood back and said, okay, what are the kinds of questions that we need to be asking so that we can have valuable enough data to drive decision making? Like, what are you looking for? And if you were giving advice to somebody, whether they were in the food space or not, like thinking about impact measurement and data, what are some of the flags that you would want to plant in the ground as you were building out that sort of capacity?
Yeah, I mean, speaking in an abstract sense is difficult on this one, but it is incredibly important. And I think many may fall into the trap of thinking, hey, it's sort of unassailably like a good thing to do, so therefore that's our metric. And everybody knows that and kind of stop there. But ultimately, that's just not compelling enough when it comes to talking to investors or talking to customers or talking to even your employees about the impact that you have. And I think that's what really separates, in a lot of cases, maybe businesses that are not for profit versus businesses that are for profit. But I think when you need to have these metrics in place, and ideally they can come from public sources, which to me, then you can kind of integrate together how you see fit for your business. That's important because that public information then can cross over into public health implications in our business or whatever it may be. But that public information is a helpful piece of information because then you see how it can touch regulatory issues, public health issues, just really kind of standing up a business for real impact, it needs to be tethered into that world, because I think if it's all kind of self-reported, to me, I think that also has some, some challenges with it. And then I would say the other meaningful building block in your kind of creating that impact model, and it truly is like a foundational building block, is I think the business has to have financial efficacy. It has to have positive free cash flow, not just, a profit number at the bottom or a positive EBITDA number at the bottom, which we talk about a lot, but a free cash flow, meaning you're creating a mechanism by which the company can not only be profitable, but it can take a portion of its profitability and use it for reinvestment, because then you have your impact measured and you have the wind beneath the wings to actually grow your impact, right? Instead of just fighting to kind of survive and looking for other, let's call it unnatural ways to support the business, it's got to support itself. And then you're really creating a force of positive, scalable change.
I'm trying to think of a good golf metaphor. Then you're a scratch golfer. I mean, I don't know.
Then you're a scratch golfer. Then you're on the tour.
You're cooking with gas.
Yep.
I co-sign on everything that you just shared. I think the publicly available metrics is huge. If that is something that someone listening can link in with, it really does just add to the credibility and also sustainability of the work, because you're not trying to figure out how to get funding to go and find that data. That data exists, and then you can work toward it with your team. I can't believe we are already at the end of our power chat, but our last question is upon us. And that's, you got a crystal ball. What do you see coming down the pike in the future for, either the work that you're doing or Ev Foods, or more broadly in the impact space that you're keeping your eye on now?
Well, I think, to me, someone said somewhere at some conference, I heard, maybe a couple billion people use Google every day, but 6 or 7 billion eat. To me, I think about what we can do to impact food supply, and food accessibility, and really doing that on a global basis. But, if I kind of reduce it back to what Revolution Foods is doing, we're the largest restaurant in California by far. I mean, we're making, hundreds of thousands of meals a day for children in this state. And we're doing it incredibly efficiently, right? With a pretty tight paradigm in terms of costs for production, materials, distribution, all this kind of thing. But cracking the code on being able to feed large groups of people effectively, efficiently, and in a positive nutritional way is the name of the game. And I just hope that more focus on that accessibility and that production, and use sort of business as a framework to really drive lasting, impactful change.
Amazing. Well, we all have to eat, and hopefully we can all eat more healthfully. I think you all are really showing how that can be done at scale in institutional settings like schools in very powerful ways. So thank you for everything that you and the team do. And thanks for chatting.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.